The word thermodynamics has its origin in two Greek words. The word thermi means heat, and the word dynamis means motion or force or power. So, if we combine both, thermodynamics literally means the study of motion or power or force due to heat. But in science, thermodynamics is much more than just heat. In simple words, thermodynamics studies how energy flows in or out of any system when it undergoes some physical or chemical change. It tries to explain what happens to energy when something gets heated, cooled, expanded, compressed, or even reacts chemically. Think about a cup of hot coffee. When it is left on a table, after some time, it becomes cooler. Why? Because heat from the coffee flows to the surrounding air. The study of this heat flow, how much heat goes out, why it goes out, and what changes happen in both the coffee and the air, is actually what thermodynamics is all about. Similarly, when a car engine runs, it burns fuel to release heat, which is then used to do work, like moving the car forward. Thermodynamics helps us understand how efficiently that heat is turned into motion, or why some energy is always lost in the process of converting it into work. Now, to study thermodynamics properly, we need to define a few key terms. A system in thermodynamics is the specific part of the universe that we want to focus on. For example, if we are studying the boiling of water in a pot, the water inside the pot is our system. The surroundings are everything outside the system, which can affect it or be affected by it. In this case, the air around the pot, the stove, the table, and so on. The boundary is what separates the system from the surroundings. In our boiling water example, the walls of the pot and the surface of the water act as boundaries. Sometimes this boundary is real and visible, like the pot wall. Other times, it can be imaginary, like if we imagine a bubble of air in a room as our system. The boundary can also have different properties. It can be rigid or flexible, like a balloon surface that can expand. It can be permeable, meaning matter can pass through it, or non-permeable, where matter cannot cross. It can also be adiabatic, meaning no heat passes through it, like a thermos flask, or non-adiabatic, where heat can pass easily. Finally, when we combine both the system and the surroundings, we get the universe. So, the universe is simply the system plus the surroundings together. Now, depending on how a system interacts with its surroundings, it can be classified into three main types: open, closed, and isolated systems. An open system is one which can exchange both matter and energy with its surroundings. A very simple example is a boiling pot of water without a lid. Steam goes out. That's the exchange of matter. And heat flows in or out. That's the exchange of energy. A closed system can exchange only energy, not matter. For example, if you have a sealed metal container of gas, heat can flow in or out of it, but the gas itself stays inside. Lastly, an isolated system can neither exchange matter nor energy with its surroundings. A perfect thermos flask is an example of an isolated system, because ideally, no heat enters or leaves it, and no matter crosses its boundary. Noise. Now there is another way to classify systems, and that is based on their composition. In this way, systems can be either homogeneous or heterogeneous. A homogeneous system is one that is uniform throughout, which means it has the same composition and properties in every part. A single solid like a block of copper, a pure liquid like distilled water, or a uniform mixture of gases like air, are all homogeneous systems. A heterogeneous system, on the other hand, has more than one phase and is not uniform throughout. For example, ice floating in water is a heterogeneous system because there are two distinct phases: solid ice and liquid water. The chemical composition may be the same, but the physical states are different. Another example is oil and water in the same container. They do not mix and form two separate layers, making it a heterogeneous system. Once we know what a system is, the next step is to describe it completely. To do this, we use thermodynamic properties. These properties are measurable quantities that define the condition or state of the system. They are like the fingerprints of a system, because once you know them, you can tell exactly what state the system is in. Examples of such properties include pressure, volume, temperature, internal energy, and enthalpy. Pressure, volume, and temperature are the three most fundamental properties used to describe the state of any thermodynamic system, especially gases. Thermodynamic properties are divided into two main types: intensive properties and extensive properties. An intensive property is one that does not depend on the amount of substance present. It depends only on the nature of the material. For example, temperature, pressure, density, color, viscosity, refractive index, and specific heat capacity are all intensive properties. Imagine a small cup of pure water and a large bucket of pure water. Even though the amounts are different, the temperature, density, color, and refractive index will all be the same. So, these properties do not change with size or quantity. On the other hand, extensive properties depend on the amount of substance present. The more material you have, the greater the value of the property. Examples include mass, volume, energy, enthalpy, internal energy, and heat capacity. If you double the amount of a substance, its mass, volume, and total internal energy also double. Thus, extensive properties are additive. Next, we come to the idea of the state of a system. The state of a thermodynamic system means its exact condition at a specific time. This condition can be completely described by certain measurable quantities called state variables or state parameters. These variables include pressure, volume, temperature, and composition. For example, if we have a gas in a cylinder with a movable piston, its condition can be described by its pressure, volume, and temperature. If the gas is at a certain pressure P1, volume V1, and temperature T1, we say it is in state 1. Now, if we heat the gas or compress it, its pressure, volume, and temperature will change to new values, say P2, V2, and T2, and it will be in state 2. Thus, a change in any state variable means a change in the state of the system. The properties that define the state of a system are known as state variables, and the relationship between them is described by an equation of state. For example, for an ideal gas, the relationship between pressure, volume, and temperature can be expressed by the ideal gas equation. But we will come to that later. For now, just understand that these variables together tell us how the system is behaving. Now, the next important concept in thermodynamics is the difference between a state function and a path function. A state function is a property whose value depends only on the current state of the system, not on how it reached that state. In other words, it depends only on where you are, not on the route you took to get there. Imagine climbing a mountain. Whether you take a steep path or a winding one, your altitude at the top is the same. Altitude depends only on your position, not on the path. Therefore, altitude is like a state function. Similarly, in thermodynamics, quantities like pressure, volume, temperature, internal energy, enthalpy, and entropy are all state functions because they depend only on the state of the system. A path function, on the other hand, depends on the specific path or process by which the system changes from one state to another. A simple analogy is the distance you travel. Suppose there are two cities, A and B. The straight road between them is 100 kilometers long, but there might be another route that goes around hills and is 150 kilometers long, or another that is 200 kilometers long. The distance you travel depends on the path you choose, even though your start and end points are fixed. Similarly, in thermodynamics, Quantities like heat and work are path functions because they depend on how the process happens, not just on the initial and final states. For example, if you compress a gas slowly or quickly, the amount of work done and heat transferred will differ, even if the starting and ending pressures and volumes are the same. In thermodynamics, it is often said that heat and work are not properties of the system. They are modes of energy transfer. Once the process is over, the system may have more or less internal energy, but we cannot say how much heat it contains. Heat and work only exist while energy is being transferred, and they depend on the path of transfer. Let us now connect these ideas to real life. Every time you heat food, run an air conditioner, drive a car, or even drink cold water, you are observing thermodynamics in action. When ice melts, it absorbs heat from its surroundings. When you compress air into a tire, work is done on the gas and its temperature rises. When you burn fuel in an engine, chemical energy is converted into heat and then into mechanical work. Each of these changes involves the flow or transformation of energy, exactly what thermodynamics studies. Thermodynamics does not deal with individual molecules. It deals with large groups of them, looking at their overall behavior. That is why we call it a macroscopic science. It studies bulk properties like pressure and temperature, rather than the motion of each molecule. Now, if this video gets 4,000 likes, then I will cover the laws of thermodynamics, along with advanced topics such as entropy changes, Gibbs and Helmholtz free energies, cyclic process in thermodynamics, and heat engines in the next video. So go!